Hello world, this is Jeffrey, JGB146 Blake from TeamLV5 coming to you with a deck profile of the Darkbox that has won my heart. It's very different than most of the Darkbox lists I've seen out there, and I think it's better, but I suppose that remains to be seen. Real quick before we get into the list, I do want to give a quick shout out to cardmarket.eu. They are sponsoring the team this year, and they're a great place if you're in Europe to go to acquire your cards. Link in the doobly-doo, and yeah, they can hook you up with everything for Darkbox. With that, let's go ahead and pull it up, and I'll kind of walk you through it. Before I start going through, though, I want to give you a little story. The way that I learned about this deck and started like the basis from it comes from Russel Laparre. He and I were teamed up to play against each other in Rukan's nightly Pokemon Fight Club on Facebook, link down in the doobly-doo, and it just, like, so I was playing the Pikarom deck. I like to call it Choo-Choo Rom deck because it was entirely focused around abusing Alolan Raichu and Raichu-GX. And at that point, I had not yet lost a single game with Choo-Choo Rom. So paired up with Russell, and game one he beats me. I'm like, whoa, okay. And he did it because he played some switching cards and he hit a bunch of heads on Super Scoop Ups. I'm like, okay, you hit a whole bunch of heads, that's fine. Game two, I almost had him, but he still beats me. Came down, he used all of his Super Scoop Ups, he used all of his switches, and he was able to Tate and Liza out of paralysis for what would have been my final prizes on the following turn. Yeah, I was frustrated. So throughout those two games, he hit like 6 out of 8 Super Scoop Ups, which definitely helped. But at the same time, like, his deck impressed the hell out of me. So what did I do? I tried to recreate it a few days later to help with TeamLV5 doing testing. We've got a few people on the team that have been on board with it. I've refined the list a lot from what I tried to recreate. I had Russell take a look at it again. I wanted to check with him and make sure he was cool with me, like, sticking what essentially started out as his creation out on the internet. And he was like, hey, yeah, you changed some things. I like it. I like a lot of the changes you made, and he had a few other suggestions. And this is kind of the final list from those suggestions, but I'm not sure about those final changes. So we'll go through, I'll talk about them. The final changes that Russell suggested were to include these two Hapus, taking out an Ingo and a Tate and Liza. I'm doing it, I'm giving it a try. I've played a few games with the list and it's worked fine. Only one time have I played Hapu, so I don't know yet if the Hapus are worth it or not. But let's start with the Pokemon and go through the list real quick. Ditto is in here just to be Ditto, to evolve into things, right? Essentially giving you a third Sneasel and a fourth Poipole simultaneously. Most games I find that I need one Weavile-GX. So a 2.5 count on the basic and a 2 count on the GX is plenty for me. If people are taking out my Weavile, then that means they're leaving my big attacker alone. They're not disrupting my energy accumulation, and that's okay by me. Weavile's not as important in this build as in some of the other builds, and part of the reason for that is this guy, Greninja Zoroark-GX. Most builds are playing 0. Some builds play 1. I play 2. There's a reason for that. Greninja Zoroark is your best attacker in the early game. You can be taking KOs on turn 2, sometimes without even having a Naganadel set up. But if you have Naganadels going, like, you can take some big KOs on turn 2. You can sometimes take 2 prizes on turn 2. So I really like including Greninja Zoroark in here. It speeds the deck up in my opinion, and also gives you an avenue without Mew to hit super big numbers. Like, you can power up this attack to hit 300, and it doesn't take as long as people would think. So we got 2 of those. We also have a single prize Hoopa in here, entirely for his Evil Admonition attack. It does 10 plus 20 more for each of your opponent's Pokemon that has an ability. So if every Pokemon in your opponent's deck has abilities, that's 130 for 1 energy. It's pretty efficient. That means you're knocking out a Giratina. Well, it does mean you're knocking out a Giratina, right? But you hit for weakness, so really you don't even need them to have that many. You just need them to have 3 Pokemon out with abilities, and one of those is Giratina. So 2 abilities in a Malamar deck, and this is knocking out Giratina turn after turn. And because of resistance, Giratina cannot knock you out in a single turn. This is the best attacker to use against the Giratina looping mechanism that you see against Malamar decks. And what's funny, we play 1. I only have 1 in my online collection, right? But we can use it 3 times. Potentially you could take 6 prizes on Giratinas that way, if your opponent's going to go down that route. Like, yeah, Hoopa's great in that matchup. He's also great if you ever get into any of those decks that are playing like the Keldeo GX to prevent your GX Pokemon's attacks. They tend to have a lot of abilities in those decks. So Hoopa can tend to at least 2-shot even like a Keldeo GX. So that works out really well too. That's basically my point. And you can, even though we're playing 1, use Nanu to play up to 3 of them in your deck. And it works out pretty well. Okay, we've got a Mega Sableye and Tyranitar-GX. This was not in the deck when Russell was playing it. Neither was a Hoopa, but I put it in because, you know, sometimes you're playing against regular GX decks, not tag team decks, where 210 will take a knockout and you get that extra prize, so it's almost as if you were playing a tag team deck. You get the benefit without the cost. This can help you play around Blacephalon-GX. If you're able to take a single prize knockout. Now, we don't play any custom catchers currently because it's not easy to like search them out in this deck. You just kind of tear through and find what you can. But if you can ever take a single prize, like with that Greninja and Zoroark tag team turn 1, then you can follow up with a Greedy Crush knockout onto a Blacephalon, and you skip their B-string turn entirely. Works out really well. Obviously that attack can be copied by Mew and Mewtwo. So yeah, I like Tyranitar, but that attack's great. The biggest reason we're playing it was for the GX though. You're hitting 250, so you're knocking a lot of stuff out. If there's any damage on before that attack, you're probably knocking out whatever you're attacking. And that's great, that's fine, right? But we have attacks, we have ways to hit bigger numbers than that for less energy than this. However, if you have 10 energy attached in total, 5 extra, you get to discard the top 15 cards of your opponent's deck. That basically means against almost every deck, if you can get 10 energy in play before they win, you're going to win. Unless they are able to follow up your GX attack with a KO on a 280 HP Pokemon, you're going to win. Because what deck out there can you basically discard a third of the deck and it still functions? I know, 60 cards in a deck, right? But you count up prizes, you count up the stuff that comes out turn 1, you're down already to like a 47 card deck. So you're discarding at minimum a third of the deck that they have left to work with. A lot of times you just deck them out immediately and it's just an automatic victory. But even if that's not the case, even if it's not an auto win, they still probably can't recover. This beats Shedinja like into the ground, and yeah, it's just powerful. Okay, we have the 2/2 Sneasel Weavile line. I'm using the Sneaky Smash Sneasel, so that if I ever need to, I can get that extra energy discard. You know, there's not a whole lot of Sneasels that are useful. This is from Ultra Prism, so it is post-rotation. And then of course Weavile-GX, he has a decent attack, and the ability is huge, and that's the main reason we play it. And the GX attack is kind of meh most of the time, but every once in a while it gets you out of a jam. I had a game against Harrison that we'll have in a follow-up episode actually to this one, where I was just totally like stuck, and what I was able to do was discard Weavile-GX, I had out Mew, and then I used that GX attack, like turn 1 or turn 2, whatever it was, and just filled my bench with all the Pokemon I needed to get out, and it was critical in letting me actually set up for the game. We have a Darkrai and Umbreon, or Umbreon and Darkrai-GX. Black Lance is a good attack, but it only does 150 damage, so you're 2-hit KOing. You are spreading 60 damage onto the bench, which helps with following up your first KO with the second one, but it just doesn't feel quite strong enough to me. That 150 is too low. We don't have any way to boost that damage. He's definitely worth including. I don't think it should be the center of the deck. That's why I only played 1 copy, and I played 2 Greninja Zoroark. We also have his GX attack, Dark Moon, and this is a good one to use most of the time, but again, other combination of cards can, you have to have 6 energy to get the knockout with this. Other combinations of cards can let you get a knockout for less energy. 5 energy on a Mew lets you do the thing we're going to talk about with Dragonite that knocks out any Pokemon of 270 HP or less, and then you can do the extra for lower HP GXs or GXs that you've hit into. You can also use Tyranitar's attack and get an extra prize. So Umbreon and Darkrai is good, but I feel like it's not as good in the deck as the hype says it is. But again, there are times that this GX attack just wins you the game. If you're against a Mew Walls deck, that can be one of the pieces that wins you the game right there, because you can knock out a Mew and Mewtwo, right? Because all of the stuff with Mew and Mewtwo prevents damage. There's not a whole lot that they do that prevents all effects, and so you're like, hey, you can't use a trainer card and your Pokemon's just knocked out. Well, that's pretty big, and that'll be a big spike in the race. But there's only certain scenarios, I think, where this becomes useful, whereas I feel like in almost every matchup, Greninja and Zoroark is like pretty hoss. Okay, so Dragonite, mainly in here for the Sky Judgment attack, allowing you to hit for 270 with Mew and Mewtwo. I'll call it Mew. And you do discard 3 energy, but you have Naganadel out, so you can recycle that energy real quick, but get it right back on there and do it again the following turn. The discard says you may discard any number of cards until you have 9 or fewer, and then you draw till you have 10 cards. That's pretty good, but we have such other great GXs. I honestly have never had to use this, never had a reason to use it. But you could, if you're in a bind that works better with that type of attack. Sure. We play 2 Dedenne to use the ability to get cards. Straightforward. But we also can make the Dedenne a target for Nanu, so we can change this little bench sitter that's not doing anything into one of our dark Pokemon to help us out. It can give us recovery to instantly get another Weavile back on board. If they knock out the one we have, we just change Dedenne into a Sneasel, and then we can evolve up into the second Weavile. Pretty good. Mewtwo and Mew, obviously you can't ever use Miraculous Duo in this deck because we're only playing Dark Energy. We're going to talk about the amount of Dark Energy we're playing here in a minute. But the Perfection ability is, pretty good. Lets us copy any of the attack we've been talking about. I'd say the most common for me are, again, from Greninja and Zoroark, from Tyranitar, and then actually the Dragonite attack that I'm copying is probably third place for what I copy, because the powerful effects that come alongside Tyranitar's attacks make him a great copycat, or Pokemon to copy. So a lot of times that's more important to me. And then Greninja, sometimes, you know, the energy or the damage just feels better that way. Sometimes Dragonite's just not in the discard when you want it. Then we play a 3-3 Poipole and Naganadel line. Right now, I'm using the Spit Poison, but it's not set in stone by any means. I have tested and done just as well with the, I think it's Eye Opener, where you can see your prizes. That can help you out in that it can tell you where things are for when you take a knockout. Sometimes that's more important than getting some poison damage, because so many things can get out of special conditions right now, because that's a big factor in the meta. So it might actually be better to play Eye Opener right now. I just happened to build it this way. And then of course Naganadel in there for the charging up ability to get energy out of your discard every turn, because you're going to have it in your discard pretty much every turn. Turning Point is not anything to write home about. Normally 80 damage, even 160 when hitting for weakness is just kind of okay. But if you can, you know, knock it out of tag team or a regular GX and then a single prizer, you can get to that 3 prize turn, and there's where things can go great. You can knock out Mew and Mewtwo, one hit knockout with a single prizer. It's huge. Obviously, to pull that off, they cannot have Zoroark-GX in play, so you have to time it right, or be playing against a Mew deck that doesn't play Zoroark, or that prized it. And that's it for Pokemon. We'll talk about items real quick. Cherish Balls. So we play 3. We have a lot of Pokemon to get out. A lot of GXs. 3 is good. I'd play 4, but we don't have the space in the deck. We play Mysterious Treasure. We play 2 of them. We have Psychic Pokemon we want to get out. Almost always we use this for a Poipole or a Naganadel. Very occasionally we'll use it for Mew Mew or Dragonite. But again, that's really rare. That's only kind of if you have something you want to do that turn with one of the other Pokemon. We have 4 Pokemon Communication. We have 20 Pokemon in the deck. So Pokemon Communication is very live for us very frequently. So we want to make sure that that works out. It lets us get anything we want for a pretty low cost. I mean, almost no cost. And you can obviously pair it up with either of these 2 if you don't have any Pokemon in your hand at that point in time. We play 3 Super Scoop Up. I'd wish it was 4, but there's nothing that I'm willing to cut right now to make that a 4 count. Maybe a Hapu, but it feels iffy. Because if I cut Hapu, I had 4 at one point, and I ended up cutting 1 to increase our draw support, because that can be an issue. Less now than it used to be. We play 2 switches. 2 is a decent number. You want some switches in there. We play another Tate Liza. At one point I was playing 2 of them, and the Super Scoop Ups can all help you get your active Pokemon out of a tight spot. A lot of times you'll use Weavile to move the energy off and then play a Super Scoop Up and then possibly just put the energy right back on. Stadiums. We play a Black Market. So Black Market, when you have a dark Pokemon that has dark energy on it, which is the majority of our Pokemon, and your opponent takes a knockout, they draw 1 less prize. It's good. A lot of people don't like it because it has to stay in play during your opponent's turn. And people play a lot of stadiums now, so this gets countered before they take a knockout a fair portion of the time. But my argument is the same argument put forth by Stefan Ivanov. And what Stefan said, Stefan, I'm not sure exactly how he pronounces his name, but either way, Ivanov said, you know, even if this doesn't stick in 80% of your games, maybe even 90% of your games, the times that it does stick, it is an amazing effect. to be able to play potentially 3 tag teams in a game is huge. You only need it to stick during one of your tag teams to make that happen. Because if your opponent takes 2 prizes, and they have to take 3 and 3 more, they take 2, they're down to 4. So that's just, you're ultimately making them, you're playing the equivalent to, at that point, a 9 prize game. Being able to play a 9 prize game is just crazy. So yeah, even if this doesn't stick most of the time, it's fine. It's still good. We played 2 Viridian Forests. Playing 3 would be fine, would be good. 2 works out a fair portion of the time. It keeps us from having issues where our opponent is playing a Viridian Forest as well, and we're stuck with dead cards. Because we only play 2 of them. If that happens, we can sort it out. We want to have at least 3 stadiums total in the deck, because you need to be able to counter Power Plant on the turns that's important. And you kind of want to hold your stadiums until you need it. Like, you'll play down the Viridian if you can, when you need it. As long, like, that's how you get some of your Dark Energy into the discard, and you'll do it as soon as you need to start doing that. But if you're in a deck, if you're playing against a deck that you know plays Power Plant, you don't play down the Viridian until you need to counter Stadium. And your deck will still function, still works out okay. Supporter line, like I say, trying out 2 Hapu, look at the top 6 cards, put 2 of them in your hand and discard the rest. You can get a lot of Dark Energy in the discard this way, and that's helpful. And you get to see 6 cards, which is better than most of the other supporters here. So kind of powerful, but you do end up sort of, you're choosing to discard 4 random cards, which is a little scary at times. Because what if you need more than 2 of the cards that you're drawing into? Ingo and Emmett, on the other hand, lets you also see 6 cards, and you're discarding what's in your hand. Now that can be good, and that can be not good. I say it lets you see 6 cards, because you look at your top card, and then you can choose to discard your hand and draw 5 other cards from the bottom of your deck. This is useful in so many ways. You know what you're going to top deck, as long as you don't play a card that shuffles your hand. Or maybe you're going to play a card that, like, you see what you're going to top deck, and you're like, I need to find a card that will shuffle my hand. So that's nice. Gives you foreknowledge or advanced knowledge of what's going to happen on your next turn. Lets you incorporate that into your plans. And again, you're discarding cards. You know ahead of time what you're discarding when you choose to play Ingo and Emmett, so you can kind of tailor your plays around that. I like Ingo and Emmett a lot. Like I said, before I started testing out Hapu, I was playing 3 of them, and I think if I get rid of 1 Hapu, the very first thing that one's turning into is a 3rd Ingo and Emmett. Play 4 Lillie. I could see bumping this down to 3, and like I say, going up to 3 Ingo and Emmett. I don't think I'd go so far as to play 4 Ingo and Emmett, but we play the 4 Lillie right now, hoping to hit it turn 1. That happens more often than you might otherwise think, because even without Lele, we do have Dedenne, and we can make that, if we start off with a Tate Liza in hand or an Ingo and Emmett, a lot of times we're going to go ahead and use the, play as much as we can, use the Dedenne change ability, discard a hand, draw 6 more. So you're seeing a whole bunch of cards trying to find that first Lillie. So you can hit it a fair portion of the time even without Lele, and that's cool. After that though, Lillie goes down in value steeply. That's why I kind of want to decrease the count, but I like seeing it early. So. Nanu. So you choose a basic dark Pokemon that's in your discard pile. Have to find a way to get it in there. We have a lot of ways, as we've already talked about. And then you can switch it to one of your Pokemon in play. Pokemon in play that you switch it for can be any Pokemon. It can be a basic like the Dedenne. It can be an evolved Pokemon like a Naganadel. There are times that I've switched an active Naganadel that I had to pull up after somebody was knocked out for a tag team because then I had energy right there to start moving on. It worked out well, and I think that's one of the plays that you use Nanny for. And you also use it for the other side of the play, right? You can go, oh, my opponent's about to KO this tag team, but I have a Sneasel in the discard. I'm just going to go ahead and give them one prize and then continue my game. Move all the energy off, KO this Pokemon, and put something else down. Can help you clear bench spots in that manner as well. Or like I said, you can take the Dedenne that you benched to help yourself set up, turn it into another Pokemon instead. And that can be an effective way. So Nanu's really good. It can help you in a lot of spots that otherwise kind of make the deck clunk up a little. So I highly recommend the 2 count there. I've heard argument for a 4 count with like a higher number of Dedenne as well. I'm not there yet, but I think even that would be worth testing. Finally, we play 1 Tate Liza, shuffle your hand in your deck, draw 5. It's not quite Cynthia, but it's close. And the extra switch card stacked on there, like, you know, we want to play more draw support than just 6 cards, even the like 7 cards if one of these became an Ingo Namet. So having a Tate Liza in there to provide that when we need it is like helpful, but also having Tate Liza there so that we can switch out of special conditions if we flip tails on too many super scoop ups, or we've already used our switches or we can't get to them. Like, I'm in the minority, but I think it's really strong. So I recommend at least 1 Tate Liza in a deck like this that doesn't play a lot of switching cards. It just makes sense to me. We have 12 Dark Energy here. This is the last thing I'm going to talk about because obviously it's the last set of cards in the deck, but it's an important thing. So 12 Dark Energy. Why does that matter? Why is that something I'm stressing? Because if you recall, I said one of our most frequently used GX attacks is Gigafall GX, and we want to have 10 energy in play to use this attack. If you're playing Mega Sableye and Tyranitar, and you're hoping to pull off that GX attack, and you only play 11 energy, you're in for trouble. Because as soon as you prize 2 energy, you're out. Here, with 12, half of your prizes have to be energy in order for you to have issues pulling off that attack. By the time you've taken a prize or two, by the time you would be able to set that up, you've probably taken a prize or two. And by that point, it means you will have pulled the energy off of the prizes most of the time, so you can actually pull the attack off. Again, like, we want to be able to use that attack. To me, that means you have to play 12 energy. You can play 13, but that's starting to get a little bit overboard and you're going to clunk up your hand. I don't think you can go below 12 and still effectively use Tyranitar attack and Mega Sableye and Tyranitar attack team for the GX attack routinely enough. With that, we'll go ahead and wrap up, and we'll be back with a best of 3 match that I played with Harrison. He was playing actually a deck that had weakness on me, so it was really interesting. And yeah, check out that tomorrow. By the way, want to throw out a few things real quick. First off, if you like this video, if you like the deck list, click like, maybe even click subscribe, because it helps us out so much to have more subscribers. You don't know. You can also join our Patreon program. For $1 a month, you'll be able to A, get a shout out in a video, and B, help us, because yeah, we appreciate it. There's better perks than that too. Entry into the monthly tournament for basically the cost of the entry, but you're helping us out here. You still get to get the shout outs in the video. There's tiers that even like let you dictate what video we're going to cover. That has to be approved by me. So don't post something stupid and think I'm going to just like go, oh, well, you paid some money, so we have to do something stupid. It doesn't work like that. But other than that, yeah, I appreciate your time. I hope you like this video. give this list a try. It will not disappoint you, in my opinion. Everyone that I've played against with it that's tried it out has liked it. That said, this is Jeffrey, JJB146 Blake, signing off.